Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my top defenses to stream for week number 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season. Inside today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 defenses in depth that I believe to have great matchups in week number 1 to lead to fantasy football success. But if you guys have never heard of the term streaming defenses, basically what the term means is that week in and week out, you're not leaving the same defense in your lineup. You don't draft the Bears to play them every single week. What you're doing is switching defenses in and out most weeks because you're trying to find the ideal matchup for your defense to have to score the most fantasy points. Now, there are kind of exceptions to this. At points in the season, there will be defenses that you like the matchup for maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season, but a lot of the time you are going to be switching these defenses in and out at a very high rate. The first defense I'm going to be talking about today, I believe you can play for the first 3 weeks of the season. But before we get on in to the breakdown of my top defenses to stream for week number 1, I'd like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first defense I want to be talking about in today's video is the Denver Broncos at the New York Football Giants. The Denver Broncos defense is currently at a 22% ownership percentage on NFL.com, so it should be relatively easy for you guys to go ahead and mosey onto your waiver wire and pick up the Denver Broncos defense. And they are so high up the defenses to stream rankings for week number 1 because they have great matchups, not just week 1, week 2, and week 3 of the 2021 NFL season. Week 2, they get the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville up against the second game of rookie quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Things should go well for the Denver Broncos there as they have a very strong defense. Week 3 is up against the New York Football Jets in Denver. Game number 3 of Zach Wilson's career, I'm not too sure that's going to end up well up against the Denver Broncos defense. Now, right now, going up against the Giants in week number 1 in New York, there's a lot of reports about how Saquon Barkley is going to play, right? There seems to be absolutely no chance that he sits in week 1 right now, but it does appear that he is going to be on a snap count, a reduced workload up against the Denver Broncos. I believe that the Giants offense is bad. Daniel Jones, I don't believe to be very good. You could probably win your league just streaming defenses up against Daniel Jones every single week with how many times this guy turns over the ball game in and game out. But now you have less of Saquon Barkley, which makes this offense, in my opinion, much worse. And this is going to be a very, very low-scoring game, as Vegas right now has this at the lowest over-under in the NFL with 41.5 points. That is a very, very low-scoring game. The Denver Broncos defense looks to be really good in 2021. The New York Football Giants offense looks to be very bad. With a low over-under, this seems like a no-brainer to be streaming the Denver Broncos in week number 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season. Next up, we are chasing up against the New York teams, I guess. We got the Carolina Panthers versus the New York Football Jets. Right now, the Panthers are at a 6.8% ownership percentage on NFL.com, 0.1% off of being very nice with 6.9. The Panthers have a relatively solid defense, and in my opinion, the Panthers defense is relatively underrated. While I believe that the Jets have made tons of great moves in this offseason, I believe the Jets are a team that have really turned it around, or at least starting to make the moves to turn it around. This is week number 1. This is the first game of Zach Wilson's career up against a defense that I believe to be pretty solid. This is also a game that has a very, very low over-under for week number 1 set at 45.5. So this is going to be a low-scoring game with the Jets offense. First game with the head coach. First game with Zach Wilson. I'm not too sure. The Jets are going to be scoring too many points in this game, and the Carolina Panthers defense seems like an easy pick for the week. Next up, we have my Miami Dolphins going up against the New England Patriots in New England. Now, the Miami Dolphins have a relatively high ownership percentage compared to the Broncos and the Panthers. Again, the Broncos have just a 22% ownership percentage on NFL, the Panthers with a 6.8. The Miami Dolphins have a 78.5% ownership percentage on NFL, so it's going to be a lot more less likely that you guys are going to be able to pick up the Miami Dolphins, but I believe this is going to be a low-scoring game. This is the first game of Mac Jones's career after he probably assumed he wasn't going to be the starter. He probably assumed that he was going to be riding behind Cam Newton, and then maybe a couple of weeks into the season, he would be fully unleashed after Cam Newton probably inevitably played like shit. But instead, he is jousted in there. Week number 1 up against the Miami Dolphins, who are one of the best defenses in the NFL. The over-under is set at 43.5. If you guys have noticed a trend in this video, it's that I'm looking for defenses that I believe are relatively solid defenses playing up against offenses that are somewhat questionable and with a low over-under set on the week. Again, this is 43.5, so Vegas expects this to be a low-scoring game. Vegas typically very sharp on these things. I doubt the total's going to go to like 72 or something crazy. This is going to be a very low-scoring game, a very close game in my opinion, and if the Dolphins are able to maybe get a pick or two on Mac Jones, able to sack Mac Jones a couple of times, and the game stays relatively low scoring, then the Miami Dolphins could be week winning for week number 1. Next defense up here, we got the exact same game. It's the New England Patriots versus the Miami Dolphins. The Patriots defense, much more likely that you guys will be able to find them with a 47.6% ownership percentage on NFL.com. While the Patriots defense was not good last year. You guys could have looked at it, and it seemed like it was a laughing stock compared to the Patriots defenses in the past. Now, that was because a lot of the defense ended up opting out, and then in the offseason, the Patriots ended up actually spending money for once. They ended up changing a lot on this defense and strengthening it up. Stephon Gilmore is out in this game, which is certainly a big hit to the defense, but I don't believe it's going to be too bad to where the New England Patriots defense would be unusable in fantasy football. The over-under, like I said, was 43.5, and I expect both defenses to play quite well. While I like Tua Tagovailoa, while I think he's going to have a great year, going up against the Patriots defense in week number 1 is not the greatest matchup for him, so I like both defenses in this game in what should be a relatively low-scoring affair in New England. Next up, we have another defense who, just like with the Dolphins and the Patriots, I like them in the exact same game. The Denver Broncos, I like them against the Giants, but I also kind of like the Giants up against the Denver Broncos. Now, the New York Giants defense is nowhere near as good, in my opinion, as the Denver Broncos defense, but when you have a over-under set so low at 41.5, why would you not take the defense on the other side of the ball? Teddy Bridgewater is not Patrick Mahomes. He's checked down Teddy for a reason. That's why I call him that, because I don't think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. I think both of these teams are really just going to do nothing all game. It's going to be very, very slow. It's going to be a game that you're barely even going to know was on if you turned on Red Zone, so I think the New York Football Giants defense will be able to get it done just enough up against Teddy Bridgewater to be worthy of a start in week number 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, if this was helpful, please make sure that you hit that like button down below, as well as hitting that subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate that. You can also follow me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY. I love each and every single one of you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys in a video from later today. I love you guys. Make sure you stay safe, as always. Goodbye.